I bet you love a good horror movie, don't you? Ah! But let me ask you, have you ever stopped to think about the real stories behind these films? Because look, when the terror is real, we are not always prepared to face it. And today, I'm going to take you through one of those dark stories. A case so scary that it became the inspiration for one of cinema's biggest hits. Prepared? The story begins in January 1971, when Roger Perron and his wife Carolyn, along with their 5 daughters, moved to an isolated farm in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The property was known as the Old Arnold Estate, a place with a past that, as you will see, was more sinister than any movie script. As soon as they arrived at their new home, the Perron family received a strange warning from a neighbor. Keep the lights on at night. At first, no one took the advice seriously. After all, who moves expecting to find ghosts, right? But, as is often the case in paranormal cases, the first signs were subtle. Small noises echoed through the house, light footsteps, tapping on the windows, and sounds in the walls, even when the wind was still. The family thought it was something from an old house in need of maintenance. Nothing worth worrying about. But time proved that those noises were just the beginning. As the days went by, events in the house began to intensify. What were once just strange sounds turned into something much more unsettling. The older daughters began reporting disturbing moments during the night. They said they felt as if they were covered by an invisible presence, something that, at times, even seemed gentle. "It was like being kissed goodnight," said one of them. At first, it seemed like a manifestation of benevolent spirits. But that feeling didn't last long. It soon became clear that not everyone present in that house had good intentions. One day, while in the barn, 2 of the Perron daughters had a terrifying experience. They reported being physically attacked by invisible forces. The 2 were so scared that, when trying to describe what had happened, they could barely find words. Concerned about the growing number of unexplained events, Carolyn, the family's mother, decided to investigate the property's history. And what she discovered was even scarier. The farm had been owned by a single family for generations, and countless tragic events had occurred there over time, including murders, drownings, and even suicides. And the most disturbing story of all? In the 19th century, a woman named Bathsheba Sherman, accused of witchcraft after the death of a child, was linked to this house, and according to reports, she never left the place. Over time, the situation in the house became unbearable. The environment became increasingly hostile. The Perrons began to smell an unbearable smell of rotting meat, and objects moved on their own without any explanation. At night, the house turned into a nightmare, and the feeling of dread hung in the air. Desperate, Roger and Carolyn made a decision: seek help. That's when they contacted famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, known for their experience in cases like this. Lorraine, a respected medium, quickly identified that an exorcism would be the only solution to ward off evil entities. During the ritual, a scene that seemed like something out of a horror movie happened. Carolyn was violently thrown against the wall, leaving everyone in shock. The tension in the house reached its peak, and it was at that moment that Roger, the father of the family, took drastic action. With chaos ensuing, he asked the Warrens to leave the property, believing that their presence had intensified the paranormal manifestations. After nearly a decade of torment, in 1980, the Perrons finally managed to escape the house and move to another state, hoping to leave the nightmare behind. Carolyn, however, never fully recovered from the traumas experienced there. The memories of that haunted house continued to haunt her for a long time. And for anyone who dares to visit the former Old Arnold Estate today, they say that paranormal manifestations still continue. Now tell me, after all this, would you still have the courage to sleep with the lights off?